Apparently I'm returning once more. Let's see whether or not this picks up. Hi YouTube, my name is James PFP. This is the Banjocast. I really mean it. It really is the Banjocast. And I'm going to try to make this work. I don't know if it's going to work or not. Waiting for the receive shit. Says it's coming through. Great. Popping out the chat. I hope this works too. I'm using a different browser. Let's see if this saves a little memory. I noticed something else that I'd done wrong as well, which was I hadn't removed the audio player from memory. So I rectified that. This is starting to get a little large as a project. That might be the issue as well. And if I don't save frequently, I may well lose what I've been doing, but I had saved up to this point. I'm trying to find ways of overlaying this image to great effect. The one way I'm going to be doing it is to probably be using a mask upon it as well, which is easy. I'll go over to Movie Clip Editor. I'll go to the first frame that this could possibly be loaded. It's this frame number. I'll Control C to get that. And now up here, I want it at that same frame, but make sure that it is the same frame. But yeah, oop, I gotta hover over the right window there. Get a new mat. Well, a new mask. This is 008, but B. It's because it's another element. I'm going to call it specifically B. And I need to load another image for this element. This is one of these in the stills Am Snipers elements under the Warner Brothers. That PNG. The text comes in fine by itself because it's high contrast mostly and nice solid color. This down here is what I want to be at highest resolution possible, so I don't need to shrink this image I don't need to shrink nor scale it up. And I may as well go for that whole tree, or at least follow the line up a bit, or look at matting it because he's hiding behind it. So there's this 3 layers of depth to consider. And I'm going to go around that way maybe. Or I could cut it against the moon. But the tree kind of needs to stay there too. I guess I could go around them both and add them both as a separate element on the same mat, the same mask. Control is being held, left click once. Nice heavy line here to follow, so I can feather it accordingly or spread it out in the same manner. Looking for the next sets of control points here. Using straight lines for this project, it doesn't matter most of the time. We can see that the sketching is pretty easy, and it doesn't take long to actually go around an object which has already been defined, tracing it. aiming for some of these feathered dark marks, but depending on how I decide to composite these things in the video sequence editor, I can get away with a fair degree of imprecision. I'm going to zoom in for this one. In fact, I want to, yeah, I'm selecting the last point. Now holding control to get another one and toggling cyclic. And now that I'm zoomed in, I'm going to go around and check my work a little. I want to get as much of that dark line as possible. And that is mostly because if I decide to add the image, the dark line gets taken out anyway. Resulting color will come through from underneath. Or I can add on, allowing for a feathering amount, and the dark line will take up the difference. There's more than one way of going about it too. I could blur this image, or I could blur a copy of this image to blend it in a bit. Looks like I need another one right there. Holding control to get another one. I've seen lots of videos doing similar kinds of things, but they do it in time lapse instead of doing it in real time. I kind of like doing it in real time and not cutting out too much. I'm also going to set this back to, oh, not merge add, but display in a solid black line. All. Or solid white line might be better, so that it's visible. Yeah, I don't need these things on now. Wicked. Suffice it to say, hey, I've got a whole bunch of things. I got a whole bunch of things picked out from the last several hours, like this, to be used in part or all. But I'm going to be taking the time to adequately change most of them to make a decent enough argument. Hey, this is derivative and critical. How to get around? I'll do around the hand first, holding control. I don't want anything else selected. And now I got to go that way because I want him, right? Notice how he doesn't have much of a line. He's already against the moon. The moon is taking the line out of the equation. You see a little bit of it here, more of it out here. I'll add to have another point in there. I'll wait until I'm cleaning it up. better that I get around the trace the first time. Ooh, look at that. Geez, the coyote's eyes are awful white, or yellow, I mean. Aren't they? Yellow as heck. They're green, they're so yellow. Ah, I guess that's the point, the green. Picture and 1,000 words and so on and so forth. Getting around that last line here. Toggle it cyclic. Hey, I got the same problem I had last time though. There's a bit of negative space in here, which needs another layer. Set to subtract. I select nothing else. Holding Control. Set it to cyclic. I'll clean this one up first. Doesn't matter which the two now I have if I display them. I guess I also have an option here. I could go for the text as well. There's an easier way for me to isolate the text though, than to go after a line, like to draw it all out again. And not my style. That's a little too involved. I could do it easier by just doing this. Setting the image to say multiply instead of add. Well, let me grab that, put it on the Y, up another one. It's okay with add like that, but bear with me for one moment here. Add strip modifier. I could, instead of masking it, use curves to isolate which colors I want to use here. Try to remember. Try to remember my basic color theory, how to get just the yellow out of here. But I think you'll see I can get most of it out of here like this. Paying attention to what parts of the curve are what. Right, so there's the moon, too, huh? Which means this image is now quite movable. More movable than it was. It was kind of tied to the side. I got a little bit of sky there too. But I can make more of the space on the image as a whole, rather than feeling I gotta lock it to one side or the other. And that means I can get everything in the image on screen. So let me have a look for a spot. Something like this might do. So there's a sense that the layering here matters, and the elements that I'm pulling out from the original image we started with, or I started with. I guess we all started with, if you paid to see the movie or read the book. Then, yeah, this comes in for when I'm not going to bring the other elements out until the words are spoken, of course, but I've got one for sheep separate, and then I've got one for sheepdog and one for coyote or wolf. Coyote is a stand-in for wolf. Mr. Wolf, of course, is Mr. White. In case you can't remember Reservoir Dogs, I've had this discussion, or I've had a similar discussion elsewhere recently. Another stream, perhaps. I'm glad this is working again. Can't do more than one thing on the computer anymore, huh? Are there any updates to be applied? Any other updates to be worried about? Now that I've got the text popped out a good deal here, I might try, I'm going to try duplicating this once, putting it above. Yeah, I can't add any more to it than is already added. Well, it did, but maybe that's better a little more to the right. Probably a little higher. Hey, maybe I don't like the color yellow. Or maybe I'm still not entirely pleased with the compositing I've got done here. Let's take that image. I don't need to work with this color yellow too much yet either. And I'm going to hide the elements that are on top for a moment. Ooh. I want to grab that and move it around a bit. Because I'm adding this, I've got an option for multiplication down here, which will overcrank the image back, or back in or back out. So I'm going to make up a little bit of what I lose to my curve by multiplying it upon itself. I get a sharp side of an image over here I don't want. I'm going to try to remove that again now. That's not so bad because it's already been faded off once in its existence. Maybe that's too much multiplication. I also have a saturation value. The more I lower this, the grayer the image becomes, more black and white. This is good for matting purposes. But I want to actually use, I do want to use the colors here. So I can go in the other direction and oversaturate. But that would only be this one layer that I'd be doing that to. Move this over here a little bit. I want to see some more of the curve. Yeah. What I'm going to be aiming for here is the sense of the moon behind that before the Bible gets added to the top of it. But now I'm going to blur this. I'm going to blur this image. Oh, Gaussian blur. We'll do it to this replace layer first before we worry about what happens to the way that I blend it in. Let's take a guess on the size here. Let's go 13 first. Let's try 13 in both directions. Doesn't spread it out very much. 23 and 19. Last one was being added. Now that I got the original image that I've been working with selected, Shift D to duplicate it. I hit Y to line it up on the sides there. This one, it has none of this blur being applied to it. So if I add this to the other one, now I get the blur glow. It's like a glow effect. And some, well, almost all of the bleed over in the corners of the image are gone. But it gives me also this 3D effect almost to the lighting, and also stands out the colors a little more. We only see the eyes of the coyote though, glowing greenly in the dark. And that is because this image has the same modifiers applied to it as the previous one to isolate these colors. I can change that and still maintain the glow. The glow is a separate effect. And now I also can control the glow underneath the, well, I'll double check my assumptions perhaps. Maybe it was a little too much. Maybe it was a little too much glow. Maybe it was better glow down here than it was up here. I don't know. But I do like the sense of there being some blurry reality to it, like bleeding over. Thing is, I'm adding these colors one to the other, so sooner or later these are going to get blown out. And there are better ways to do the glows together. Or, to put it another way, less is more. In both cases. I might be able to get away with more of that one than the other. I also have the option of recoloring this separate image that I've added back. Again, if I were to hide that for a second, I can recolor this one as a modifier as part of this strip by using color balance or hue correct. I'll use hue correct for now. Say I select the yellow point, and I don't, well, if I want to remove yellow, I can remove yellow specifically by using color correct. Getting me the white that I want for this text, but still maintaining the colors down here on the hair in particular. Not that it's going to matter, I've already cut around that. But I can add blur to that layer, or this layer, or something like that. Works for any color as well. I could decide I don't want much that blue there and lighten it or remove it, or I can overcrank it. Dog's interior happens to be blue. So now if I add in this secondary image, that looks a little bit better. Is it not dark enough? Hey, hang on a minute. This Gaussian blur is added, right? What if I subtract it? Oh. Yeah. Yeah. And remember, the Bible layer is going to cover up some of this. You still get a sense of the ears and things before the things pop up. Dog is still there. Maybe the Warner Brothers is too much at the top there. This one's set to overdrop and at 95% opacity. I can demultiply it here too. Neat. It's currently set to overdrop. Oh, that's the Bible layer. Right, these are only for these two things. It's this one is set to add. Hey, what if that was multiply? And its opacity is, what, 43%? Where is it set? At 50. Well, what if it were 80? Step through this for a second with multiply instead. See how it looks. Add is more like I want, but I really do feel the text at the top bothers me. It's too bright and too obtrusive. So I'm thinking about how I might be able to fade in from both sides, like to mat both ends, top and bottom with a feathered, something to match this and maybe bleed over a little bit more. I'm not so bothered at the bottom as I am at the top. I guess the other option is to look at where I want this put. Line it up maybe on this side. Let's hide this for a moment. That's set to subtract right now, right? Cool. Subtracting here is not giving me much of a background image, right? It's not bad, but it's not great either. Maybe that will do. Actually, to back this off the image, curious. I'm going to delete this one for now. Well, no, I'll just match the numbers. Negative 37 and 40. Has modifiers? No. Is only blurred. Subtract. Ah, this isn't bad. This isn't bad. This could be faded in. It only needs to be at maybe 27%. Oh, that's not enough. It needs to be 50% to get the most out of that. Negative 37.40. Negative. That point. Gives me room to put the one of the sheep images over here and also to overlay the other one, which is a cartoon. So there's the flip. Still set to subtract. Multiply. So what happens if I hide it? And merely adds a glow to it. Of course, I have the option one way or the other. It's more like a Ghostbusters thing there, where there's a glow on the outside with a negative space inside. If this is the case, I'd want it to be darker. That one's not so good multiplied. Ah, do you know, that's kind of nice. If I hide the glow, look. This I could fade in, right? These two could fade in after you see this much. Then you get that. Then you get hit with this part where other things are popping up on top of it. And once that's done, release all of them for this part. And I still have the Bible and the soldiers ready for whatever else. I'd imagine this is going to be to do mostly with these guys. Not so much with that. I can still have fun with that. How soon to make this happen here? Well, it's at 50% right now. Let's go at 80%. Is this the one that had the hue correct on it? Yeah. This is the other way I was doing it, subtracting that one, adding. Which is why I moved it over here, so that it would be isolating specific parts of the image was my entire intention though. So projecting behind it and then having them pop in front before having them start to flash makes sense to me too. That over here maybe, and the sheep pop up over here. Hmm. 40 was a good layer. Now I need this one to be about 720. Yeah. $650.40. So scale it smaller. That's the only other thing I can see to do. -37 is the better one. Oh, it's that one. At least that way I get them both without having to do any extra work matting. And as I was saying earlier, I can multiply to get this to brighten up the text some. I think I could pretty much do the same thing on this one. So I get the tune shading back there by multiplying. I think that answers my questions to myself about what I'm going to do with this part and about how much I need to do these things. The blur level, could that be at 1? Oh, it's better with a big blur. I like them both at full opacity, but to just bang them in doesn't make any sense. There's a big gap in the audio here as well. I've left lots of gaps in the audio. That's what I plan to fill some of the music that I've got with. Put the music in these gaps, or find pieces of music that will fit the gap to allow for my speaking. It shouldn't be too hard. I've got a good variety of things to work with. I'm going to have to obviously do it offline, or it'll cause crashes beyond galore, like beyond galore. Beyond galore. Very specific type of bounty hunter. I'm going to grab this one final time. Well, don't have to. What I want is this image in this position. Once more, Shift D. I'm bringing it to the top, but this one is going to be set to overdrop. And it is going to not need that nor that, but instead have a mask modifier. Oop, a mask. Alpha over. Huh. Funny, was that mask set to subtract? I get the funny feeling it was. Movie clip editor. Oh, that's what I should be seeing. It's definitely the right one. Okay. Video sequence editor. Overdrop will work. Opacity. Set that to 1. Oh, it didn't follow with the... didn't either. I see my problem here. My mask is currently over on this part of the image. The only way that I'm going to see it, if I don't offset. Here they are. But it's been scaled to fit this. It needs to be relative and absolute. Okay. Offset again. Well, that's a bit of a pain. I didn't much think it would be picky about where I put this afterward, or that I wouldn't be able to easily move the mask. So I had to go to Movie Clip Editor for a moment and have a peek at why that would be the case. Footage information. 640, 464. Huh. Huh. Interesting. I don't need to use that, but active parent. Active spline is the one that I got selected. Display, overlay, and smooth. Start frame, end frame here matters, right? Start frame, end frame. Copy V. Copy V. I'll save that now. See if that don't fix it. It don't. wonder if I gotta parent it, but I haven't had to up to now. But then again, I've been using masks on objects which are more or less the same size as the actual frame. And this is not the same size as the actual frame. This is the size of the frame, and I think this is what the mask is doing, but that don't make sense. This is rendered to the right. Huh. I begin to get an idea of what I'm going to do to get this mask to work. And it's, boy, talk about convoluted. I know it's 640 by 480. So the first thing I have to do after offsetting it is to center it in the image. 1280 minus 640 would be 640 again, which means 320 should be center image. And 464 from 720, which, you know, I really don't need to calculate too much, but 256 I guess is 128. And then this needs to be scaled up. I don't need to use the mask on this layer. This is the good news. It'll be on the layer coming. Add a transform. I can hide that now. This is going to be overdrop. Uniform scale, I think it should be 1.33. Oh, 1.5 then. Huh, 1.67 then. That looks pretty close. Much closer. Now we see what happened to my dearly arrived at mask. If I didn't know better, I'd say this is too far down already. Okay, speaking of convoluted, X. Unhide this again for a second. In fact, I can delete that one. I'm going to go back to the movie clip editor. This will work, but I'm going to have to draw it. Well, I won't have to draw it again. Let's get this. I'll spit that out right away. I don't have to draw this again. What I need to do is to get a little smarter about what to do with it. Like what footage to work with. Because now that I've drawn it once from this original footage, which I've been using to overlay things on, I now have it already composited where I intend to use it. So if I was to render a full-size image, switch that as the background for the matte, reposition the elements I've already drawn, scale them. Scaling seems to be fun though with this. I haven't had a lot of fun scaling masks in Blender. So that might be a setting which I've been messing up. I have to figure that out before I do anything. In the meantime, this image now becomes important in its own right. I'm going to render active scene. This is what I'm working with. F3, Pufferfish, renders, stills, elements. That's where I'm putting this one. It's saving as a PNG. I'm going to change that as well. This is frame what? $4964. I'm going to call it macguide.png. Well, I can change the type right here. JPEG, 90% is good. Save as image. Go to the movie sequence editor. It's all, well, I'm already in the right frame, so I can change my footage. Simple enough. To the matte guide layer. Footage information, footage settings, start frame, frame offset. 4964. You can see where I want my matte to be used, so I only have to move it over. And I can select both these layers at once too, or individually. So hitting L key here, I should get all the linked ones. Shift there and hitting L, shift there, hitting L. Grab to move them all over. I'll position him first and then get to the, well, I could figure out the scaling here. Do it all in one fell swoop. Median point. Is very close, yeah. What happens if I use my arrow key here? It changes frame. So if I grab and hold shift, I can fine tune where the positions are. But this is a scaling issue now. The difference. So I'm going to hit S and hold shift as well. Ah, there's the scaling. There's the scale being taken up. What if I don't like the position of Mr. Coyote over here? Oh, here we go. I can fine tune the position now. So that puts the matte in context in the right place. Maybe that will work better. Let's have a look. Take that last one, duplicate it on the Y channel, bring it to the top. I don't need the hue correct, and I don't need the curves. I don't need to be adding it like this either. I'm going to overdrop it. But I do want the mask, which I just adjusted. Did you see the difference? Very little difference, but it's a big one. This is see-through. The tree is see-through. The moon pops out because it's a separate layer here. And that's there, and I still have the two characters coming on screen when I want them. Pardon me. With the background highlight, with the shadow. Starting to look at how long I really want that element on the screen, because it's right now it's there at the beginning. So it's a composite of 3 different layers to get the intended effect of cutting out the elements and pushing them on the screen in a decent enough way that I don't lose everything from before, but most of it is removed from the clutter. And I have a reason for wanting to fade these things in. I don't mean to say that there's nothing that inspires it, so to speak. You get an idea where you get an idea where this belongs or where it comes from merely by looking at it. This layer I just added. Yeah, I said that it didn't need a recolor, right? Well, maybe it could use one. Color balance. Oh, no. I like that other one better. Hue correct. With specific control for the hue. Let's make the dialogue a little bigger. And I'll zoom in on just the part of the image that I'm correcting, which is these guys. Color of his arms and legs. Green of the eyes. Control on the browns are here too, I think, and the hair. Too much? Probably too much. Hey, what about if I use the multiply or the desaturate? Saturation could go to 0, you get a black and white image. If I overcrank it, you get an overcolored image, which is just not nice, but a little bit of desaturation usually brightens things up. Then I can over multiply it to get the colors to come back. Which is why I say desaturating is generally a decent way to make it brighter without multiplying it too much. And I'm only multiplying these 2 little pieces of the image rather than doing the whole thing and making it brighter and brighter as a whole like I've been doing here. But I wanted to get the text to pop out, and I added a bit of a shadow to it. That's the main the main reason for doing it with 2 strips and a blur in between. 1 strip for the blur's source, and the blur doing the rest. So let's have another look at this blur. It adds a blue blur. Grabbing on the Y, moving it up. I could blur it again. You can see it really bright, like really pronounced there. That's on the blur layer. I think I might color correct that one. Hue correct, I mean. The blue I don't like. So can I get rid of the blue specifically? It's like somewhere in between here. Yeah, I was doing it on the wrong layer. This one. Add a second blur. Subtract is the only thing to remember. It's the only thing to really do again. Here's the tighter one along with it. So less shadow and no shadow. Like gradable shadow. This is the layer where the blue was, yeah? That almost looks best of all at 1. The only, I can't remember any other reference to football in that movie other than in this scene. which seems strange to me. I mean, as a Canadian, not because we're into football or anything. Not as much as some others I might think of. I'm going to take a break. I'm very painfully aware of the fact that I shouldn't load too much music into the interface if I'm going to take a break. Looks like I got some news coming up here too. A bit of a news break. So as I say, I'm going to go on a quick 5-minute stopover. Maybe I should take a smack on some of this archive music I've been looking at. You know, some of this is going to get content strikes. I gotta be careful. Look at that. There's some really good stuff in here. That looks fun. That's fun. They're all fun. Under WB, under Black Sheep.
We'll never go outside in the winter time. This is for fly fishing. If you understand me? Like the other one is ice fishing, but this motherfucker is fly. Okay?
Boo!
Lots of salmon. This next one is it's an original lyrics with an old tune. I got rid of all the sectarian violence in the old tune. Because I don't like sectarian violence. Well, my name is Abel Organ, I'm from Grandwood, Britain. And for 45 years there I got myself fit. I was forced out of fishing back in 92. And I didn't know then what the hell I would do. Fate had arranged another fine turn with the untimely passing of the old copy urn. Who left me a letter, some books and a suit. And I went back to Quebec and all wooden fruit. Considered our life in the arts. With the boys in the lounge playing darts. And here I can float my whole life away. With the Grammys, the tune that the four kids still play. I'll never know trouble nor ill-favored dream. Or lose all I got on a pyramid scheme. A homeless old tinker, ordinary and cute. So long as I cherish goes next.
Is that from Three Amigos?
It's from the Three Amigos, Randy Newman, yeah. You win the absolutely non-existent prize.
You win Three Amigos.
Three Amigos.
Did that thing crash? What? Did it run out of time? Could have sworn I had it left on for longer than that. My bad. I'll leave the audio up. I gotta get a cup of tea, man. It's freezing out there. If that's 9 below, I'm a monkey's uncle. Wait, no, I am a monkey. It's below 9 below. How much below? That's a guess here, but with the wind chill, it's hitting 20 below. It doesn't want to snow anymore. That's how cold it is. Lots of blowing snow. That's the problem. From snow that fell earlier when it wasn't that cold. So what happened with the audio there at all? What happened with the music? Did the music get cut? Oh wait, I got a freaking cup of tea coming. I might as well wait for a few minutes. Might as well wait for a few minutes and do it the old-fashioned way. I'll put this stuff in front so as to see, like, maybe I'll do this way. Yeah. Working out the kinks, so to speak. conchos. Making sure my can of milk stays open. I have a discrete problem to work out before I do anything else tonight. When I say discrete, I mean really discrete. It's easily summed up. I've been playing the song Ophelia for a long time, but I'm not quite sure that I'm playing it right. Everybody leaves so quickly for Ophelia. Where have you gone? Nuh-uh. Mm-mm. Hey baby, come back home. Yeah, that's how it is. See, I know I had it right. It's a tricky little tune, that one. Ba-da-da-da. Baby, come back home. Up on the hood that said that neighborhood ain't the same. Nobody knows just what became of Ophelia. Baby, come back home. Honey, you know we broke the rules. Is it something that's against the law? When, honey, you know we died. Fun stuff. The real truth of the matter is that thing's too heavy. Especially when I only want like a little sip of tea every now and again. Make a big old production out of it and shift around. This is buzzing like a son of a gun all of a sudden. Might be time to change the strings. See? Much better. Darn if I didn't figure that out as soon as I picked it up. I was like, oh yeah, that thing is like, whoa. It's like falling off a log. It's like you don't even need to try. Let the muse flow. So I was doing some basic compositing before taking the last break. And that looks pretty good to me there now, to have the three elements coming in. This first one fading in and not touching these too much. There's a sense of a fade around them, but not so much on top of them, and they're only barely opaque to allow for it. So the next thing is to fade this in. Saying about that long. Maybe a second would be enough. And there's a double blur to be considered here. So this, and this all need to be faded in that amount of time. And then this one on the top, I'm going to be moving over for some later point, like much later, like over here. I can't even remember what the order is. Is it sheep, wolves, and sheepdogs, or is it sheep, sheepdogs, and wolves, or what? Klaatu, Parada. Or what? I'll go with what? This one and the other ones below it all need to get these keyframes. So opacity 1 for the add one. Opacity 50 something for that one. Opacity 70 something for that one. Page down. We'll set that opacity to 0 and keyframe it. Set that one to 0 and keyframe it. Set the third one to 0 and keyframe it. I'll save it so as to make sure there's no issues here. So the first part of the animation here, they gradually fade in, and then that fades in. And that's long after I would want to have the appearance, well, the dog and the coyote for sure would be up by then. Like certainly by here. And therefore I could probably Alt-H, look at doing it something like this. I'm expecting that to cause a crash every time I do it. I think this first one is definitely sheep. Sheep precedes by that much, and if I remember right, the sheep image I want to use is this one. And when I make it its original size, I will want to crop it. I want a very tight crop of this sheep. I could even get rid of the coyote legs a little bit. And for lack of argument, or for lack of argument, no. I'm going to want to have this image stay on the screen for a while. I'll set it to overdrop for now. I'm not fading some images in, but the sheep image I'm going to put over on this side. And I might want to have it under the Bible. I'm not entirely sure yet. And I might want to flip it. If I want to flip it, I can do so here with X flip. And it automatically puts it over there. I could also not overdrop it, but add or multiply it. However, if I add it like I've been doing with other images, I'll want to do a correction pass of some kind, of curve or a color correction to reduce to the parts of the image that I really want, the colors that I want. In this case, if I set this to overdrop again, it's what's gray and white. I don't want anything else. So it's easy to isolate gray and white. It would be easy to isolate these three or four tones, and basically do a matte right away with it. Since it's set to offset and crop, I can now position it up and down. Doesn't matter what these numbers really are. Under modifiers, strip modifiers, let's try a curves pass first. Remember, I got it set to overdrop. I do. Does the same math there either time. Look. Hue correct, brightness and contrast, white balance, and tone map. Let's go with tone map. Paint the red out of both sides. A bit of magenta. What if I go the other way? Yeah. This is the saturation. I'm working on the saturations here. Hue correct. You can also go on the value of the yellow pixels, for example. Going back here and setting this back to overdrop. Alpha over is the faster one to get to. I'm looking to isolate specific tones. So I'll go not so much hunting and pecking after them. I could desaturate it to select that way, but probably be faster for me to do what I did the last time, is to position this on the image, render an image, go in and cut it out. Yeah, not really getting a very good result out of that at all. This is cropped and positioned, so as I say, I'm going to do what I did with the last one. And that is simple. Go here first and render still. I'll render a still image, which gives me the element where I want it. And what I'll do now is cut around with another mask. F3. What's the still that I'm at? 5061. I could use this one again, actually. Save as image. It doesn't matter because I'm not covering anything up, right? It's just I'm adding another element to it. So if I go to the previous one, yeah, see? Back to the movie clip editor. I need to reload this image. Oh, it's saved as a bloody PNG. This will be the third new mat on this piece of footage. So I need to add another mat. Create a new mask. F008 C. Hey, what are we masking here anyhow? Monsieur la sheep. I can even get rid of Coyote's legs while doing so. So Hilljack was mentioning there earlier, Joe Rogan. I mean, I say he mentioned this earlier in comments, but because he knows that I watch Rogan from time to time. But Rogan's been interviewing a lot of people this last month. Seems like he picked up his schedule again, and that's something that I probably will want to do more content on in the future. Like analysis of after analysis of Rogan is really interesting to me, because you get the benefit of not only hindsight, but, well, his podcast is different anyway. It's not like you can go on his podcast and throw questions at him right away. You got to kind of establish contact in other means. You could probably tweet him while he's podcasting live, and he might get that. Or something to that effect would be the kind of deal he's worried about. That last one I want in here more. And toggle cyclic. And overlay it. And turn it on to just the alpha channel for a minute. Okay, great. Combined. Set it to smooth. Doesn't need to be smooth. What's its smoothing value? I think it'd be sharp. No, linear would be better, I think. I go back to the video sequence editor. Coyote.jpg. Strip modifier, a mask, set to mask. Mask number C. Here's my ready to blend or ready to be popped onto the screen sheep. These guys pop up right after. And when they leave the screen, I'm going to drop all of that and that in favor of a third. Maybe I should cross-fade them in favor of the third. Page up, back of frame, 1, 2, 3. That's a second. Here's the third one. Oh, I should be really careful about picking the right one here. It's that one. Could also be this one. Or that one. I've got a whole bunch of them. I could flip one for the other. That one, and that one. I'm going to rename these now. An F3. So I've got them all named something that I can easily line up. Refresh this. Now I see them all labeled out. Suppose I have the benefit of being able to move these elements around too. I could separate this mask. Keep the dog down here and put him right over where the moon is. And where the coyote would be cut out, and put the coyote up here and make him bigger. I want the soldiers to be mostly on top, so grab Y and put them up a couple layers, and then I'm going to take these two, grab Y and bring them down. Oh, Control Z. Grab Y, bring them down 1. I don't need the waveform for that right now. Goes to channel 12. It's currently up for 26 frames. I think I'm going to want these up for various times so that they can flip from one to another. Maybe 3 seconds at the most, maybe 2.5. I want it to be its original size. I want it to be an overdropped image. maybe this could be twice as long, or several seconds long anyway. Let's say 150. And this is why I think that's about as long as that was. Once that drops off, I replace it with something else. So what's the length of this? And then I go 1, 2, 3 to get this one. Which will be a length 125. Close but no cigar. It's there. Set to overdrop. Offset like the others. Brought up to make it parallel with the other one. I can bring it off the edge too to make it like the other one. That's 1 second. That's 2 seconds. 3. And so this one, channel 12, offset, off over or overdrop, it doesn't matter which. This one will be in the middle. If I put that one in the middle, I think this will be the truth as well. This one and that one will be better off like side by each. And then bang, that one replaces both. Alpha over. It's offset. What's its image dimension? 640 by 480. Again, this is a 320 and 240? No, 120. This one I could put down much, much lower. I could also make this a reveal, like a surprise reveal. By playing with the layering a little bit. Snapping it back to there. It's what it'll originally, where its position is going to be on the frame, but it's not quite there yet. I'm going to hide it, transform it. It'll be a uniform scaled transform, and I'm going to be setting this to add. Could set it to subtract. And we could only subtract maybe 50%. We'll see what I'm thinking here in a second. because I'm thinking to make this bigger. And I'm thinking to make it bigger this way by animating it scaling up. So I need to get an idea of how big to make it. $151's probably just enough. Let's set it to add 50%. No, let's set it to multiply. Multiply is a bad idea because of what it'll do to the image below it. Set it to alpha over for a moment. This is definitely the effect I want, but to get the clean matte line around the two characters without having to draw it out, ooh, that would be nice. And for this purpose, I do not need to see these things. And this isn't cropped. So I'll go back to here, to where the image is clearly in position and scaled and everything else. Frame number, I'm copying. F3 to save one. Changing that number for the other number. Control V. And I want a JPEG here. Which gets me free to do this lovely matting job again. Current frame is correct frame. I'm going to load a new image, the new matte guide. Current frame is correct frame. I need a new mask. This is F008D. Sheep in between them, I don't really need. That's going to be behind the Bible anyway, but hey, that's three elements I could totally use here. And they're all discreetly kept separate from one another. Let's do the sheep first. Since this is the case, I'm going to uniquely label them as well. I'll zoom in on the image a bit. What I've been doing with straight lines, I could also change any of these control points for a curve, which would allow me to get a much more precise matte line, like a very detailed matte line. But since I'm never using a very detailed image, it's already quite pixelated when I'm getting to it, it don't really matter. There'll be a few places like this where I might want to move it one way or the other to make sure that I catch the good edges. Holding control again now and left clicking. Right click allows me to select. Holding shift and right click, I can add to the selection, make it bigger or smaller. Or in this case, holding control and left click to extending the line of this mask object. Holding shift there and right or middle mouse button. Then switching back to control. Ooh. Control Z. I must have double clicked there and got it to go to cyclic or something. Small little irritable kind of thing to have happen. Irritating. I can see why they drew the sheep in the first place. They're easy as hell to replicate once you got them in the distance. One, two, three. Falling asleep yet? 4. So the internet's nearly got broken again the week, huh? Fairly major goings on in the online skeptic community. Apparently one live stream managed to start getting enough people to... At one moment in time, the dude who was conducting the live stream made a fortune. Made an absolute fortune in live chats. Here's the sheep done. I need another one. F008D dog. I'll do the dog in the sheep's clothing next. Sheep dog, right? I'll start in the middle and work my way around. My cloven-hooved individually friend. Cloven-hooved friend, there you go, that's the way to put it. Since this is a non-animated mask, I figure it's worth my while to put down a bunch. See how this one came down with a control handle attached? V auto or V vector would be better. Unless I want to try to draw the curves really precisely later. a bunch of small points will help. And if I'm animating though, this many points would be a friggin' pain to have to set them every time and then alter them every time. There's no way to anchor them onto to specific pixels unless you put a tracker there. Ha! Here we go, finally. Off the bloody sheep costume. Hmm. Ooh, the wind. Blowing a gale out there now. Grab that one this way. Control left click to continue. Oh, thank goodness this one gets done. I still got the damn coyote to do. Toggle cyclic. Turn on the overlay there. Now I can get an idea what that looks like. I want these done separately. You know, I've used 3 plates, but then I can move them. I can animate them. The dog's in sheep's clothing, whereas the wolf is in dog's clothing. Yeah, this is beautiful. This is an excellent image to want to use for reference. I'm gonna lose a bit on the ear there, but that's nothing major. I'll save that. Now I'll go and do the next one. Coyote. Coyote has negative space. The other ones don't. There, 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 there. I'll look for the right place to start. I think it's here. Yeah. Oh, yeah, look. V, set the vector. I'm just thinking here of a song. McLean and McLean. I don't know if they wrote it or if they merely reprised it, but I think it starts with "I'd like to see coyote eat the road runner. Like to see Knievel blown to bits. I'd like to see some actor get his hands upon my baby. But I'd love to see them Dolly Partons. Knievel blown to bits. Yes, I'd love to see them Dolly Partons. Coyote's eyes totally do touch the environment in a way like very few other characters. What I'm getting here is a bunch of these because I'm clicking and dragging. I'm going to want to set all of them to vector before I start. Or Control Z. They don't make a sound. What they do remains a mystery. I wonder how long ago since that's stitched together like that. Cincinnati. Nice, stuck deep in my pockets. Thinking about Dolly's rockets. As I say, the name of the band there is McLean and McLean. Which might be among the most foul of Canadian comedians ever to grace the stage anywhere coast to coast, but god damn, they were funny. As foul as you can get, but funny as fuck. At sea, leaving, blowed away. The sea aiming, blowed away. Mm-mm. Here come the long straightaway lines, thank goodness. And I still have some negative space to do. Oh yeah, down about here, ooh, wonderful. Select them all. V to vector just to be sure. And now on a separate layer, set to merge subtract. I need to start getting rid of these little parts. These, what I say is negative space. Parts of the image where you can draw like the hole through which you see. And toggle cyclic. Holding control to start, holding left or clicking left on the mouse to define the shape, and then toggling cyclic to finish the process. Control and left click. Sharpest line of all of them right there. A little bit there. looks like it all. Let's turn it on to overlay and check it out. Let's turn it on to just the alpha channel. Yeah, that looks great. Video sequence editor. Under modifier, strip modifier, mask, mask. Let's take the sheep first. Okay, here's a question. Can I move? Can I move this now and get the sheep to move too? No, I cannot. If I want to do that, I have to further move. I have to further transform this. So add like a transform layer. And now I believe I can move those two. Oh. Weird. I'm hearing a very regular noise in the background that I gotta check. Ooh, is it ever cold? Would it be an adjustment layer then? Grab on the Y and bring it up. Go back. You got everything underneath gets adjusted. I want only this one to be adjusted. Oh, effect strip, but then offset. I'd really like to have the sheep up there. It's the only difference. Put the sheep right on top of the Bible. The Bible being its own layer here. And it's currently maybe that's fine. Maybe that's fine as is. Maybe I should trust my instinct. That one uses this mask. But hey, I could also do the same thing more than once and use different masks on the same image. Like coyote here. And oh, what was the other setting here? .51. Means that I can get a third transform there as well then. Set to overdrop at 1.51 and using the third mask which is available. The Zula dog. So the sheep is at the bottom, the coyote's here, the dog is here. I'll hide that one for now and hide that one for now. So I'll fade that one in. And I'm going to fade both of these guys out. Yeah, because the joke there, of course, is that he's going to take off that and he'll be the dog underneath. Delete that keyframe out. I want to see if this doesn't do better. Yeah, it does. And I'm going to do the same thing on the dog. I fade them up a little bit slower than the sheep. Very simple transfer here from one set of elements to the other, but offset from one another so that the sheep are on the image first. And meanwhile, this needs to be applied to the this element and these elements. So there'll be a double color strip. I can get that lower. Grab Y. Channel 14. Okay, what do I know about this one? I don't quite, oh, I don't need to hear it. I don't remember where the waveform indicates the acting takes place and where the, well, the acting is here. I think the red is over the voice acted, yes, second part, but it starts up to about here. So I'm going to actually start that at that point. And I'll probably fade it out by this point, which is not the way I've been doing it with other ones, but I'll use a bunch of frames of this one. What's true about this? Well, it uses a modifier, a mask, a strip mask. It is the Bible mask. Bible and soldier's mask. What can I do with it? Well, we can make it over crank or not. I also set it to full opacity. Hide it. And let a blur do the work. I heard that whoop. I don't know about you did. What would a color be that would be better than that? That would be really good. I like the impression that gives. Don't think 23 is the right number. I think much lower and tighter looks better. And then this add could be set to subtract, right? Or multiply, which not going to work too well. Add is the best. Add and never more than what, 80%? Add and never more than 73%. It's a fairly involved little set of clips here. And when the time comes to render it, it'll be suitably long suffering, like it'll have to chug through a whole bunch here. Oh, you know, I think I know what I'm doing wrong with the mats too. Why they're attached to the project and not to the clip that I'm particularly getting image data from. Like, why shouldn't I not be able to move the sheep all over the screen now? Or these two guys, make them bigger or smaller. I'm going to start laying down some keyframes for each of these, because I want this to be decently painless. And now that needs to be animated. And I'm going to do as I've done with most of the rest of the animated glow effect. I'll now get this small part of the curve that I've defined fast at the beginning. Shift E. Oh. Shift E to get constant extrapolation linear. No, make cyclic. And then I can change this specific shape by grabbing one of these, or one or both of the control handles. and sizing it accordingly. The resulting animation can be limited as well for the number of frames that it's required, which is generally a decent idea. So it's definitely going to be done by 5488, but it needs to start at 5209, 5209, 5488. 5209, 5488. Let me get both of these points. Restrict 5488 and 5209. So what do we get now? Twice a second, this thing is going to blink. And it swaps those sets of images for those two. Lets that blink for the rest of the time. I could fade out the rest of that after these guys fade out. What do I mean? I mean this one could be now set to fade out as well. 1, 2, 3, 0. Set to fade. Go forward a frame. Snap it back. And now all that's left is this. Yeah, the confusion is, of course, is that the Hegelian philosophy from one end of the transaction to the other makes it clear that some things are not as they appear. Yeah, and that's enough of that. Ooh. Merc mission clock. That resized automatically there. Be careful about that. Coming up on 3 hours here. I'm going to take a break and get something to eat, I believe. It's just after 12. It's the end of Fives Day, but you've got a real good idea of what I'm up to now with various image layers and a little more effort than perhaps normal. But a lot of effort to get a specific group of effects to work out in the end. So that when they're all overlaid together, I don't get too cluttered on the screen and you still maintain a sense of what's important. So thank you for watching. Please subscribe or tell anybody who you know who might be interested in my kind of content where to find it.